And thanks to you at home for joining us this hour. Very happy to have you with us. The government shutdown is now in day 27, but winter doesn't care. Looks like there's going to be another major storm arriving in the next few days. This one looks like it's going to hit the Northeast this weekend. I know that. I feel comfortable telling you that on television. I can describe elements of that. I can talk about potential places that might be hit harder than others and when these things. I could do all that. I could even factor that all into my own weekend plans this weekend, because there are thousands of employees of the National Weather Service who are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to provide we the people with that kind of very valuable information. And all of those employees of the National Weather Service are doing that work for free. They're doing it without being paid. Hour after hour, day after day, storm after storm. Yesterday, you might have seen headlines about a Georgia man who was arrested for planning attacks on multiple sites, including the White House. You should know that the FBI agents who got that guy and arrested him yesterday, those FBI agents are also working without pay. We learned tonight that at the New York City offices of the FBI, they have started a food bank as of today for FBI agents and their families, because you can only work so long without pay before you really do need to turn to charity in order to eat. And as of today, we are now having ping-ponging fights in Washington about what the president is personally able to do during the shutdown and what congressional leadership is personally able to do during the shutdown. We still have no clarity on whether or not there will be a State of the Union address this year. There's never been one before while the government was shut down. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, says as a matter of security, they cannot responsibly bring the president to a joint session of Congress to issue such an address this year, not while the government is shut down, not while so many of the personnel who would be already involved in the planning for a security event of that significance, so many of them are not working at all right now, or again, they are working without pay. In response to that potential cancellation or rescheduling of the State of the Union, which Pelosi suggested to the White House yesterday, the president today decided he would cancel the military transport for a congressional delegation that Nancy Pelosi was set to join to visit U.S. troops in Afghanistan. Now, the Defense Department, military transportation for a congressional delegation, that's not actually affected by the shutdown, but the president decided he wanted to do that anyway to smack her back about the State of the Union or something. And because he wanted to make as big a deal as possible about him canceling that military transportation, the president also today publicly disclosed for the first time that that trip was supposed to happen. Which means even if Nancy Pelosi and other members of Congress did find alternative means of transportation to go take that congressional delegation to go visit troops in Afghanistan, they now, of course, cannot, for security reasons, because the president blew that up. There's a reason when high-ranking American officials are flying into an active war zone, we don't find out about it until they're already there. It's for their own safety. The president blew that up today and told Nancy Pelosi she should fly commercial anyway. And whether or not you care where the president or whether any other political leaders are personally spending their days while the shutdown persists, it is now increasingly bizarre. It's more than remarkable. It is bizarre that the Trump administration, with each passing day now, they really are expecting hundreds of thousands of federal employees to show up to work all day long without being paid. And that is something that federal workers have been able to do for a few days here and there when we have had shutdowns here and there in the past. But we've never had a shutdown this long. And showing up and working without pay is only sustainable for so long. How long could you sustain that in your family? I mean, it's only sustainable practically for so many days. It may not be sustainable legally for all that much longer either. And politically, it's hard to see how the president and the administration more broadly are going to be able to sustain this expectation that hundreds of thousands of Americans will work without pay. It's hard to see how they will be able to sustain that politically when the cost is now so blunt and so human, and each passing day of this just makes it that much worse.
We're not paying people who keep us safe, the TSA agents who stopped bombs from coming onto planes, the FBI agents who tracked who track down terrorists in our country, the DEA agents who stop the flow of drugs into our country, and the immigration officials who patrol the border. People think of public employees, federal employees, only being in the Washington area. No, they're all over the country. They're in small town USA and other places around the country. I don't understand why the reality of this in people's lives is not felt or concerned or cared about by the administration. Not only are these workers not paid, they're not appreciated by this administration. These are the people who deliver services to the American people. We should respect what they do for our country. We're saying, let's get a date when government is open. Let's pay the employees. Maybe he thinks it's okay not to pay people who do work. I don't. And my caucus doesn't either.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi speaking with reporters today, and I am not a political expert. Ask me about some of my past political predictions. I'm not great at it. I am not a great political expert. I have never run for office. I never would. I have never been part of a campaign of anybody else running for office. But it strikes me, in political terms, that if you have picked a big political argument and in so doing, you have put your political opponent in the position of arguing against you, that it's their position that people who work should be paid for their work. If that's their position against you, that seems to me like maybe you're going to lose that fight. I mean, honestly, if you think about what's going on right now with the shutdown, logistically, I don't know how they're going to end it. Politically, what this boils down to right now is that the way the president has set this up is that he's put the Democrats in the position of being able to make two cases to the public. The Democrats have two public positions right now in this fight with the White House. They have 2 points. Let's open the government, and if people work, they should be paid. The Trump administration and now the Republicans in Congress are in the position now of saying, okay, we get that you want to open the government, but yeah, and we understand that people should be paid, but there's this other stuff that we also need to, there's other factors here that you need to. I mean, the polling is increasingly terrible for the president and the Republicans on this issue with each passing day. It started off bad for them. It is getting worse as this thing goes on longer and causes more real human pain. That doesn't mean, though, that any of us know when it will end. Certainly the politics of this are only going to get worse for those who are trying to sustain it and not better. But again, we don't know how long they decide that they're going to keep this going.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.